Hello, I'm Jeff Myers, and welcome to Elgin Today. On this edition, it's a magnificent mansion as a part of the 36th Annual Elgin Historic House Tour. We'll talk with a couple of folks that dropped by, and with Dan Miller, president of the Gifford Park Association, who's been involved with all 36 house tours. It was the big celebration of the 150th anniversary of the Elgin Fire Department. We'll hear from Fire Chief Dave Smith, also from City Council member and former Fire Department Lieutenant Richard Dunn. The month of October will see some brand new artworks for the city of Elgin. And Art Harvest is an event that takes place on October 28th. Amanda Harris has the details. Ron Lang of the Hall of Fame tells us 5 new members will enter the Elgin Sports Hall of Fame in ceremonies on Sunday, November 5th, including EHS basketball star Jesse Henderson and Larkin all-around athlete Jennifer Haley. And the Mayor David Captain segment includes Liz Marston of the Elgin History Museum and talk of Elgin's downtown churches. We'll have these stories and more on this edition of Elgin Today. The weather was simply beautiful for the 36th Annual Elgin Historic House Tour. Great crowds on hand as well. We got a chance to talk with 4 out-of-towners, also a man who's worked on all 36 house tours, and this lady from Elgin.
I'm Penny Castle. I've lived in Elgin my entire life, and I'm so pleased to be at the Elgin Historic House Walk today.
You've seen this many times, haven't you?
Several times, yes.
You always enjoy it?
Always enjoy it, but it's a perfect day today for it.
It's just a great moment for Elgin, isn't it?
It certainly is.
Hi, I'm Jack Highland. I'm from Grass Lake, Michigan, and I'm here for a birthday party, for a class birthday party.
And you've seen the house tour before?
And I have seen the house tour. This is the second time for me. I saw it 2 years ago. And when I came back this time, I wanted to make sure I'd see it again.
What did you enjoy last time?
Oh, everything. I mean, all the houses were terrific. Loved going through it. The lines were a little bit longer than I thought, but they moved right along.
Yeah, you've seen a couple great mansions today.
Yes. This one in particular looks really spectacular.
My name is Grace Molina. I'm from Crystal Lake. And actually, I have been to this house walk it's probably been maybe 15 years since I was here last. But before that, I probably had gone 10 times in a row. And it's one of the best house walks ever. I'm also chairperson of the Historic Sites Committee for the McHenry County Historical Society and a former curator of their museum.
Well, you know your history and your walks then, don't you?
I do. So I've got a lot of experience, and nothing makes me happier than to actually get inside the houses. Most of the time you just get, you just see them from the exterior on a lot of house walks, and here they're usually so beautifully restored, and it's one of my things that I do.
That's wonderful. What brought you back this year?
Well, last year, the people from my Historic Sites Committee, we had a field trip to the Wing Mansion. But unfortunately, I was in an accident and I couldn't go. So I had to see the Wing Mansion.
Hi, my name's Carol Gerhart.
I'm Diane Talla.
You guys are from where?
Hampshire.
Hampshire, Illinois.
Did you enjoy the tour?
We loved it. It was great. Beautiful house.
Fabulous. It was like a tour, this is like the whole tour for us.
Yes.
Wow. What brought you to this tour?
We've been here before, and Elgin's a wonderful, wonderful city.
It's the highlight of my year, the house walk. This is our 36th year. My wife and I have been on the committee all 36 years. I picked the houses, I got the staffing. It is very, very satisfying for me. This is the highlight of my year. I couldn't sleep last night.
Well, I would think not. You're doing a lot of work if you're picking the houses and everything, aren't you?
It's what I enjoy. I have the best job of all the jobs because I get to talk to the people. I get to meet all the old house enthusiasts in Elgin. Everybody that's got a nice house in Elgin knows me. I've met them, and I've seen the inside of their house. It is an absolute godsend for me to have that job.
That's great.
Everybody knows me. I know everybody.
And you're such a natural because you fixed up so many homes yourself.
Well, with the money from the house walk, the Gifford Park Association has purchased and rehabbed 5 problem properties. With this money, we've been saving up. We're looking to do another.
Dan Miller, congratulations. You bring out so many folks. Look at this crowd.
Thanks. I think that we do a lot to improve the image of Elgin. We have a questionnaire at the end, and we say people, has this improved your image of Elgin? And undoubtedly they say yes, yes, yes.
It's Saturday, September 16th, and the Elgin Fire Department is celebrating their 150th anniversary with a great celebration that took place at Fire Barn Number 5 Museum. Let's talk with some of the folks.
Oh, it was a beautiful day, nice ceremony. Great dignitaries came out. Congressman Krishnamurthy read a proclamation into the congressional record. They're flying a flag over the Capitol building that will be brought back here to commemorate the event today. Representative Moeller and Senator Castro were here and read proclamations from the Illinois House and Senate. Literally hundreds of people showed up today for this, and it's a great day looking at the museum, experimenting, and then I guess experimenting with the fire equipment. Some of the kids I see playing with some of the equipment out here, and going through the museum. Just a great day for everybody.
It's your old neighborhood, your old school's right across the street.
It was right across the street. Yeah, Garf wasn't quite as big when I was here, but was built about 20 years after the fire department became part of Elgin. I think it was built in 1889. It's one of I think it may be the oldest school left in Elgin, or one of the oldest ones.
What a day this is, Chief.
Oh, absolutely, Jeff. It's just been a beautiful day. We couldn't ask for beautiful weather. Just a phenomenal turnout from not only the community, but the firefighters, both active and retired. So really is a special 150th anniversary.
You've got the newest firefighters and some of the older retired ones here today.
We do. We've run this complete spectrum. We had 3 of our recruits that graduated yesterday from Glenview, and they start on Monday on shift. And we have some of our oldest retirees that have been retired for almost 30 years. So everything in between.
This day must mean a lot to you.
It does. It really does. When you kind of stop and look back and you look at the history and you see how much we've changed, and like I mentioned in the speech, that just the fact that we have a museum and all this information is here and you can go in and look on the walls and see how things used to be, it really is exciting, and the history does come alive, and you realize that we have changed a lot and we just continue to evolve.
Well, you're relatively new as far as being the chief, and it's been a great season, hasn't it?
It has been. I'm coming up on 11 months, and so far so good. It's been a busy year, a lot going on, and so just enjoying it. But a major portion of this year was actually focused on this, and like I mentioned, this was outside of our wheelhouse, so we brought in some experts to help us to plan to make sure we do this right and make sure we capture the moment. And
it was a great day. This means a lot to me because this was my first fire station, not 150 years ago. But back in the late 80s when I started with the fire department, this was the first station I was assigned to. And I've served at it for about 4 years. So it brings back a lot of good memories.
Because by 1991 it becomes a museum piece, doesn't it?
It does. I was here till just about the end. I went over to Station 4 right before they closed this station.
Remind us the folklore that our fire unit went to Chicago and fought in that fire. There's differing stories, aren't there?
There are different stories, but we do have the bill of lading from the Milwaukee Railroad showing that it was loaded onto the flat car and transported into Chicago. From there, it goes down to folklore and rumor. Obviously, Chicago needed resources at that time, and any resource that was coming in was going to be used. And the other thing that you have to remember is that meant Elgin firefighters had to go also, because the Gifford was an unusual piece of equipment. Being very early in having fire apparatus, she was a steam-fired pumper. So you had to have an engineer who knew how to operate her to go with her to make her work.
Next, the Cultural Arts Commission liaison for the City of Elgin, Amanda Harris, talks about some exciting future times for art in our city.
So right behind us is a new mural that the commission has found an artist to do. Her name's Jo White. She is from Countryside, Illinois, and it's going to be done here in the next couple weeks.
It's exciting. How did this all come about?
So the City of Elgin approved a public art plan a few months ago, and as part of that there is a program called the New Works program. This year we got 3 new pieces of art. This is one, and we'll have 2 sculptures going onto Riverside Drive.
The sculptures are still being done, aren't they?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Tell me who's involved with that.
So one sculpture is done by an artist named Davis McCarty. He's from Chicago, Illinois. It's about 5 foot tall, 3 foot wide, and it's made of iridescent plexiglass and steel. The other piece is made by an artist named Nathan Pierce. He is from Missouri. It's going to be about 13 feet tall and about 700 pounds. And it's all steel.
You've got a gathering upcoming that will showcase the new art, is that right?
I do, yeah. All of the new pieces are going to be completed by October 28th in time for the art harvest, which is going to happen mostly at DuPage Court. But part of that event is at the very beginning, starting at about 1 o'clock. We're going to unveil all 3 new pieces, and we're going to have the Folks of the city of Elgin are going to go on an art treasure hunt and see all of the different public art that's in downtown. It's not just these 3 pieces, it's pieces that are already existing. And then they can come back to DuPage Court and paint a pumpkin and go through the inside out haunted house and have a good time.
Because it's so close to Halloween, you're tying that in.
I am, yeah. Several of the downtown businesses are going to be open for trick-or-treating, and it's all free and family-friendly and open to the public.
When we talked to the city manager a couple of months ago, he mentioned the Riverside Drive and the promenade will be prominent with new art. Isn't that right?
Absolutely, yeah. The 2 new sculptures that are being installed are going to go on Riverside Drive. One of them is going to go on the southernmost pedestal. That's Davis's piece. And the other piece is going to go kind of at the curve of Riverside Drive right before it meets Prairie.
Artists or folks who want to create, how would they get involved with this in the future?
So for 2018, we're going to announce our request for proposals or our call for art at the Art Harvest. So you can find that online. You'll be able to find it. I'll have flyers and all that sort of stuff, and people can always contact me directly.
Because the folks creating the art are getting some monetary reward, aren't they?
They are, yes. The folks for this year we put out a call for. It was a $5,500 honorarium. We haven't set the price for next year yet, but it will be comparable to this year.
We're at the center of Elgin, the Elgin Sports Hall of Fame. Right behind us, as you can see, Ron Lang from the Hall is here. Ron, how are you, sir?
I'm doing very well, Jeff. And yourself?
I'm great. This exciting time of year, November 5, you've got the induction ceremony. Tell me about the night and tell me how I can get tickets.
Well, tickets will go on sale 1st of October. You can get those from Dave Covey. You can send through the mail, $35 at Elgin Sports Hall of Fame, P.O. Box 1133, Elgin 60121, or contact Dave at 847-987-1393.
Right here at the center in the Heritage Ballroom it is. That's on November 5, and at night, social hour begins when?
At 5 o'clock. Dinner at 6, program to follow.
It's a great event. Come on out for that. Make sure you get those tickets. 5 new inductees. You can tell us about 3 because right after this we're going to have a couple interviews with some of them, but 3 that you know. Tell me all about them.
Well, Bethany Goldsmith was an Elgin High grad from 1944, one of 2 Elginites who played in the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League. Bethany was a pitcher for 3 years with the Kenosha Comets. She had 34 victories in that time.
Great.
Pitched in 87 games and pitched 622 innings in that time. She also had a chance to tour in Central America with a team of All-American girls. So she had a really great career, and again, we're so pleased to see her go in. One of 2 members, Charlene Barnett being the other from Elgin in that league.
25 years ago, the movie was out with Madonna and others, and we like to say there's no crying in baseball. That's a great selection.
That's right.
Bethany did pass away. She was born in 1927, passed away in 2004.
Yes. Next person we're inducting is David Huxtable, Larkin grad, 1975, 3-sport athlete himself. He's gone on to coach major college football for over 30 years. He's been at places like East Carolina, North Carolina, University of Georgia, University of Wisconsin, where he was a coach for the linebackers, went to the Rose Bowl that year.
Great.
He's back right now in North Carolina. He also was at Pitt for a year. Dave has been in charge of defenses, defensive coordinator, linebacker coach, special teams coach during all that time.
From Larkin to nationally known. That's great. And a third member?
Bob Politica, well known around town. Bob's, of course, a 4-time international weightlifting champion, 15-time national champion. He was among the 25 supermen of the 20th century, named as a weightlifting team in 2 classes. Later, of course, Bob's very well known here locally for starting the Elgin Sharks track team in 1980.
That's right.
Certainly over 100 kids participate in his track club every year now, many of them underprivileged.
Yeah. They'll go on to college and great running
scholarships.
Yeah.
Bob gets them competing in not only state competition, but also regional and national. Like I say, many of these kids have gotten college scholarships, great success.
And they dominate the foxtrot every year, too.
Is that right?
Yeah, they're strong.
Bob himself has been honored here in Elgin with Bob Politica Day in 2015. Judson University installed him in the Judson Hall of Fame in 2016. He also received the AAU Presidential Leadership Award in 2007. Wow. So Bob has had just outstanding credentials and very well deserved in both weightlifting and as a friend of sports.
Good work, Ron Lang. We also got a chance to 2 other new members, Jesse Henderson and Jennifer Haley. We've had a chance to chat with them since that was announced. So first we'll hear from Jesse Henderson. Talk about that. You were elected into the hall. November 5th is the ceremony, of course, the center of Elgin. Jim Harrington called you. Tell me about that.
When Jim Harrington called me, first of all, I was happy to hear from him. I hadn't heard from him for a while. And then once he told me to just sit down and brace myself, I kind of figured it was about the Hall of Fame, Elgin Sports Hall of Fame. So once he explained everything to me and let me know, I was just ecstatic. And I was a little emotional because it's just something that I could be thankful for and something I can cherish and pass down to my children.
No question, it's a great moment. Your class of 90 for Elgin High with some of the great Jim Harrington teams. That 89-90 squad went to the Elite Eight down in Champaign.
Yes, that was a beautiful year. I'll never forget it. That was a great experience, a great year, great group of guys, teammates, coaches, managers. I'll never forget that, man. It was a great year, and it was a good experience, and I was happy to go downstate and experience those good moments.
Now, the call comes from whom, and tell me how you felt when you got that call in September.
I talked to Ron Lang. I got the call, and I am, by chance, I'm working as a divisional chair at Larkin High School, so I got the call from Ron letting me know that I was going to be inducted while I was sitting at Larkin, where it all started. Yep.
Wow. So the folks right at Larkin could see almost teary-eyed, couldn't they?
It was wonderful. It was absolutely wonderful, and I couldn't think of a better way for it to happen.
A ceremony took place at Blount City Cemetery on Saturday, September 23rd, which included a cannon salute and a 21-gun salute to mark the memorial dedication for an Elgin native who was a Union Civil War general by the name of William Lynch. As we hear more about General Lynch from the man who made this event take place.
I was asked a little over a year ago by Laura and Steve Stroud to portray a Civil War soldier in the cemetery for the cemetery walk. And I said, well, sure, I would love that because I've been pestering him about that for years. I thought he was going to give me a job as a private or something, or a sergeant maybe. But when he sent me the paperwork and I found out it was a brigadier general, I was just thrilled to death. And it's right up my alley because I love Civil War history. I'm a member of the Sons of Union Veterans of the Civil War. And our mission is to preserve the memory of the boys who served in blue. And what better way of doing it? So the more I researched on Lynch, the more I found out about him. And I said, my God, this man's a hometown hero. And here he has a grave that's not even really marked other than his name. So how many people walk by and totally ignore it? So I decided to try and do something about that. I talked to Liz Marson at the museum, and we thought, well, let's give him a marker. So we came up with a design and put it through the Granite Works, and we have a beautiful marker for him, and you'll probably get some pictures of that. And it lays out his Civil War history. And like I said earlier, where would we be without men like this? You know, to step up and serve the country like that. And he lived about 2 blocks from my house, which even made it more interesting. Mm-hmm. And I kind of ate that up. And
we have the streets named after him, of course.
Yeah. So it was all a labor of love. And for a year later, here we are. We have our new marker. He's getting the recognition he deserves. And I hope he can rest in peace now forever, and knowing that we care.
Next, here in Elgin today, let's travel to the Gail Borden Public Library for this gathering that took place on Wednesday, September 20th.
My name is Joanne Hartman. I'm the Interim Executive Director of Food for Greater Elgin, but I'm also the Secretary of Elgin Cooperative Ministry.
Tell us what we're seeing tonight.
Tonight you're seeing the Hunger Summit, which is a gathering of different pantries and soup kettles, social service agencies that are involved in feeding our hungry. We're going to have an overview from the Northern Illinois Food Bank people that will tell us about where hunger stands in Northern Illinois and in Elgin. I'll talk a little bit about Elgin. We'll have a nutrition person talk about what the effects of hunger are, and then finally we'll help people know what it is that they can do to help fight hunger and its surrounding issues here in Elgin.
Are you looking for new volunteers?
Absolutely. The more the merrier. We always need volunteers, so yes.
How is Elgin faring?
Elgin is a wonderful, giving community. What we need to do is communicate better and work better together, and that's why we're here.
Tell me some of the organizations here tonight.
Tonight we have a variety of food pantries. We have some soup kettles. We have senior services, and some of those kinds of social service agencies, Centro de Información. Those are the people that are involved in hunger, but also providing services for other folks.
Will we see more of these gatherings?
We would like to think that we're going to do this every year. This is just the beginning.
It's time for our segment with Elgin Mayor David Captain, and we're out on a beautiful day here in Elgin, Mayor.
We are, Jeff, and we're at one of the highest points in the city. A little bit of high ground here, and I wanted to do this today because of Elgin's long history. And in the past, since probably 4 or 5 years, I've done a number of proclamations celebrating anniversaries of churches in the city of Elgin. And we're at an area that has been called historically Holy Hill in Elgin. Many of the churches were built here back in the 1800s. It was the place where people worshipped and was part of really a part of our heritage and the churches that are located here. With us today is Liz Marston from the Historical Society. She's going to give us a little update, and give us a little update on what's going on in Holy Hill and talk about the history of this part of Elgin.
It's an active place. Liz, we welcome you to the mayor's segment. You've got great knowledge.
Thanks, Jeff. Well, this is a special place. I mean, Gifford started out here in the 1830s and gave pieces of land to certain churches to bring people into the city. And they did. They came here and they started building churches all along Center and Villa Street. And Elgin became known as a city of churches.
Wonderful.
So it was a place where you would come down Villa Street. That's the main way that you would get into town, and you'd have these enormous stone buildings in a time when there weren't a lot of big buildings. And you'd come in. It was very dramatic, and it would be all of these different churches and all denominations.
That's great. And Mayor, it still holds up with that dramatic look, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And Elgin is one of the few communities in the area that has places of worship for every major religion. And we're very proud of that. And I think that's continuing a tradition that was really established 150 years ago. I think that's really something unique here. And when you look back at the names of the churches and the types of people that went there, it was a reflection of the immigrants that came to Elgin, Illinois, many of them Germans, and the Giffords came from Scotland and from northern part of the British Isles, and that's really what the early population was. So many of these churches had some type of German or European origin.
It's wonderful. It adds so much to the historical stability of the city, doesn't it?
It did. I mean, all the people that came here, now this is the 1830s, and although the Giffords might have had some Scottish ancestry, they were really from the East Coast and had been for generations. And so they brought that Great Awakening, that religious fervor that was happening in the 1830s, they brought that here. And then as they were settling up Methodists and Baptists and Congregationalists, then the Germans came in and they wanted to have their own language, the religion in their own language, which was generally a Protestant, but we were also open to Catholic churches and to Jewish congregations.
In the 1990s, the church right across the street, we opened up one of the cement blocks. They had a 100-year time capsule. Yeah. All the papers were German. The coins were German. It was incredible.
Yeah, so we have at the museum ledgers that are all in German, from you're baptized and you're confirmed and you're married in the church.
Mayor, we're standing right at 216 East Highland, First United Methodist Church. You chose that church. You know a lot about this church, don't you?
Well, it was I did a proclamation here. It was the 150th anniversary of the First Methodist Church, and read the proclamation for them inside the building. And obviously these are many of them are beautiful architecturally and designed, and that's where they at that time they spent their money on the places that they worshiped. And different types of architecture. We have Liz can talk a little bit about this. We have a church that's up not too far from here. I'll call it the far southern end of what we would call Holy Hill. That's actually built like a pocket watch because of the German immigrants that came here. Many of them worked at the watch factory.
That's great. What year does it go back to, do you know?
The church, it was a Unitarian church, and it was built in the 1880s. And it was primarily East Coast kind of, actually English people rather than Germans. It was in English. But this church behind us is 1924. This is the third church on this site for the Methodists.
Wow. So this third is relatively new. Or
modern. Well, relatively new.
When we talk about years,
I guess
the fire department, things of that nature.
Yeah, that's correct. And again, you've had reconstructions here and rebirth of the churches that are here. They're changing constantly, and based on the demographics of the city. basically, and it changes. Change is good for people. They've expanded. Many of them, you can look across the street and see that there were additions that were put on, and some of them were congregations back in the 1880s were probably in the 10s, 20s, 30s of people, and many of them, when talked about First Methodist Church here, at one time they had 1,400 members, so they needed quite a large building to accommodate that. But now those congregations are changing again.
Yeah, again, it's a very busy street we have in front of us. It's exciting for you, Mayor. It's a busy Elgin.
That's good. Business is good.
When you were a young boy walking here at Holy Hill, your thoughts were?
I think that we always looked back, and this was always an area that was very busy on Sundays.
And today's no exception.
And exactly, and very busy on Sundays. And I remember when we had police here to help with crossing the streets to get people safely back and forth. And again, it's a transition. Now many of the people moved on to churches out west or to the mega churches, and we're starting to see a little bit of a change here. One of the things I think that, like Liz to talk about, is one of the more tragic days in our history in Elgin happened in this very location. That was the Palm Sunday tornado, and that's almost 100 years ago.
Yeah, 1920 that was.
1920, and it hit the Congregational Church on the corner of East Chicago, and Center Street Villa, and the tornado itself really ravaged the downtown, but it killed 3 people in the church, and it was a very sad day. 2 women and 1 girl.
And the History Museum has some pictures of the after effects.
I do. We do have some, and they're you can really see the devastation. It was sad. Other churches have had multiple fires. The Church of the Redeemer right across the street has had 2 different fires that pretty much wiped it out, but they've kept much of their 1880s architecture.
Wow, there.
So it's, times change, they move on, and the city adapts with it. But we have maintained our reputation as being the city of churches, and very well received with people. And, a big part of what I do now involves the faith-based organizations in the city, and they are really part of the fabric of our city.
Wasn't Carlton Rogers parked down the street? He was a religious man, was he not?
Oh, yes. He was connected with the Methodist Church right behind us, and a very well-known pastor and very influential.
Wonderful.
One of the things that was also in this location that's long gone now was the original City Hall, the old City Hall. And part of the reason that was demolished back in the 60s was the damage from the tornado had damaged the top floors of that building as well.
What address exactly was that, Mayor?
Oh, it was at the corner of Spring Street and East Chicago Street. And I think
like a red building.
Yeah, and we were just talking about that recently. Times have changed, and would we, 50 years after it was demolished, would we look at that the same way, or would we try to save it? And as a historical structure.
We'd save it now, wouldn't we?
I think there would be a great effort to try to do that. And architecturally, it was a very different type of building than the one we have. And I think those are the things that was, it was a different time.
Oh, yeah. The mid-'60s especially, it was like, let's go new. Tear down, let's start anew.
It was urban renewal period.
Yeah.
Also, I think it had some foundational issues, but those might be able to be fixed now.
Right.
And we might have been more motivated to do that. But at the time, it was new. Yeah, everything was supposed to be new.
Let's go new and let's go plastic. That was the
yeah, I don't know. I guess plastic was pretty. But, and those are the things that really help define a city and define a community. And certainly our faith-based organizations do that. And we're very proud that we can provide a place of worship for anybody in the United States that wants to come here. And I think it's a continuing tradition for us. And these buildings will be here long after after we're all gone, I'm sure. Be a continuing part of our heritage here.
We're almost out of time. Liz Marson, thanks for coming out. We enjoy your knowledge in the Elgin History Museum. We're always there if we're not working. And when we're there, we're working.
Thank you very much.
Mayor, as always.
Thank you, Liz. And Jeff, we'll see you in another month.
All right. That's going to be our segment as we get a chance to chat with you. A very busy time it was here. Holy Hill it was.
It was.
And nice call, Liz. Thanks a lot. That's our Mayor's segment. We'll see you next time. You can learn more about the information you saw here in Elgin today or about city services, programs, and events by going to the Elgin website at www.cityofelgin.org. And now the City of Elgin has a 311 contact center. Elgin 311. Call, click, connect by calling 311, the city's information and request resource. For everyone here at Elgin today, I'm Jeff Myers. We'll see you next time.